thank you for what you've done. We thank you for walking with us into a brand new year. So, Lord, lead, guide, and direct us, Lord. Help us to be the servants that you've called us to be. Lord, we need you in each and every situation, each and every endeavor. We need you. So, Father, we know, Lord, we've known you to show up and, Lord, to help us to stand up. So, Lord, we thank you and we praise you. We give you glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hello, my brothers and sisters. Once again, this is William the Encourager, and we are talking about the paradigm shift. We are setting the stage for a dramatic paradigm shift in our lives that must begin at one juncture, one point or another in this new year. How about asking God to do it now at the beginning, to set a pace where you can see and feel his amazing grace wherever you are? Because remember, you are not alone. God walks beside you. You just have to ask him to open your spiritual eyes so that you can see him. And remember what that paradigm shift is. It's a radical change in the way you think, see, believe, and respond to life. It's when God shifts you from old patterns, limiting beliefs, and worldly thinking into God's perspective, God's truth, God's priority, and God's destiny for your life. Let me share with you how dramatically the paradigm shift will change your life. When your mind shifts, your faith strengthens, your prayer life deepens, your obedience sharpens, your behavior transforms, your results change, your destiny aligns with heaven. A paradigm change, a paradigm shift also changes your life. Position with God, confidence in his promises, love for God and his people, inner peace and identity, strategy for success, courage to walk in your destiny. So before we go in any further, I need you to remember this, my brothers and sisters. God does not make junk. With everything that God made, he made it with a purpose. And you have a purpose, my brothers and sisters. You have a purpose. And we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. About that purpose, about Romans 12:2. where it tells you, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed. It's time for a transformation, my brothers and sisters. It's time. It's time for us to be the people that God called us to be. The servants, the leaders, the kingly priests. And it's time for us to stand up, look up, speak up, stand up, and be ready to go up. So remember, there's a way out of your mess, and it's JESUS.
Good morning and welcome to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Ask Your Neighbor can also be heard and seen on our website, WYSHradio.com. And if you are in Anderson, Rome, or Morgan County and have Comcast cable, you can watch Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV Channel 12. Ask Your Neighbor is the program where you call in and do just that. Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a comment? Do you have a problem? Or do you have a question? Then call in and ask your neighbor. 865-457-1380. or toll free at 877-711-4005. And for those of you that might be listening or watching on the internet, you can email from our website, WYSHradio.com. Just click on the Contact Us button and email your questions. Now sit back and listen as listeners throughout East Tennessee and the entire world answer your questions on Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV 12 and AM 1380 WYSH.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome into Ask Your Neighbor. It is the first Tuesday of the month. That means it's Dr. David Ayers. It's the first Tuesday of the year. Wow. And here we are. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, doing well.
How was your Christmas holiday?
It was good. We went up to West Virginia. We played for a church for the Christmas Eve service.
Okay.
Sort of augmented the band they had. And then we had Christmas with BJ's, my wife's father. He's still up there. Saw my brother. He's up there, too.
Well, good.
Mm-hmm.
How about New Year's? Do you guys do anything for New Year?
Well, I have a friend. He's a guy that came over from Cuba in his 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And he came over when he was like 14. He should meet your son. He loves
Space.
Yeah, well, it's astronomy. He's got an enormous telescope.
Oh, wow.
He's a Schmidt Cassegrain. It's in a building up behind his house, and it's honestly that big around.
Oh, wow.
And he can drive it from in the house from a computer. And he has a New Year's Eve party every year. Have a lot of Cuban and Spanish food. But the pictures he gets off that scope are just, I mean,
that's crazy.
They're like you make posters for the wall out of.
Oh, you probably could.
Beautiful, beautiful pictures. He was a chemist in his career. He did a really good job.
He's here in Tennessee, or he's in Virginia? Or West Virginia?
He's in Little Rock City.
Oh, okay.
And he did his work mostly down in Louisiana. And the chemist left. He's actually the one that, if you remember back in the space shuttle days, some of the tiles were falling off the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So they came to him to ask him what had the glue changed, or what was the problem? How come the glue wasn't holding anymore? And he did some studies. I think found out there had been a change in the glue. And
that's what caused them to start falling off?
Yeah.
That's cool.
But he's up on everything about space.
Yeah, my son says he's either going to study it or go to it.
Mm-hmm.
Either one of the two. Either he'll end up being an astronaut, which with the way he's studying, he'll be able to do whatever he wants to do. But
if you remember back during the eclipse we saw here, came by pretty close years ago.
Yeah.
He had this whole yard was full of telescopes and people.
I bet.
The news came out. The news basically stayed all day.
That's cool.
He's the nicest guy to ever meet, and his wife.
I'm sure my son Trey would love that.
Yeah. He wants to look through it. I can probably talk to him. He likes to show people his telescope.
When Trey was small, they did a thing here at the Clinton Library, and they still do it every year. They get with the university, and they bring out the astronomy club,
mm-hmm.
and they'll bring out 5 or 6 pretty powerful telescopes, and they'll aim them at, each one will aim at something different,
mm-hmm.
which was really cool. So it was about 5 in the afternoon, 6 in the afternoon. It was still summery, warm, so it wasn't dark. I'm aiming at stuff, and I was like, and they let you get up and take a look, and that's the first time I ever saw Mars, you know what I mean, with its rings, with my naked eye, being able to look at it through a telescope. It was pretty cool. Trey was little, and he thought that was just the coolest thing in the world, because he would look through it, and then he'd back up and look up and try and then look through it again. It's in his blood, like it or not.
There's a thing called albedo, ALBEDO, and that's sort of the brightness of the sky.
Okay.
And what can you actually see through there? And depending on if it's bright, like Jupiter, if you knew where it was, you could probably see it during the day.
Yeah.
And these scopes now, even some of the cheap scopes you can buy, are called go-to scopes, GOTO.
Mm-hmm.
And you just tell it what you want to see after you set it up. And
it'll
point and you just look.
One day that I'll get one of those. I've got an app on my phone that you can once you orient it, you can point it, and it'll show you everything in the sky, what it is and where it is, which is pretty cool.
It is cool. When I first got my scope, which I don't have now, but I just picked something up in the sky just to try to get lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Saturn. I thought it was sort of odd that all the things I picked up there it didn't just look like a little star.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I always had a hard time. In 99, I got a computer, it was a computer-driven telescope. It had a little handheld computer that was wired to it. And once you got it acclimated due north, you set it directly level, got it acclimated due north, it would go and find stuff, but it was never as accurate as what they have today. So it was still pretty cool, an early version of what they've got now. But yeah, I'd love to have one of those telescopes. You just set it up, it GPS acclimates itself, and you just tell it what to look at, and it figures out where it's at and where everything else is and finds it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And, stay with it, because if you're looking at anything to a telescope, it's moving.
Oh, yeah.
You can get something lined up and say, look at it, and it's gone.
Yeah, the moon moves at a pretty steady clip. Yeah. I was looking at the moon one time at my house when I still lived in Phoenix in Arizona. I was sitting out in the backyard of my pool with a telescope, and I was looking at the moon, and a plane flew between the moon and me. I saw it as clear as I'm seeing you. I could see in the windows and everything it was a split second, but it was super clear. It was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Didn't get any pictures or anything like that, but it was fun.
Well, I heard you today that the thing for advertisers, before I came in, I was thinking nobody's really advertised on this show, but they should. I think.
Well, yeah, they should.
Next time you go to the GNC store, you should tell them.
Advertise on Ask the Doctor.
Yeah. If there's herbalists out there,
you
should advertise on here. I can see why some other medical places might not want to advertise on here, but really, it's we've improved some of your all's business out there.
That's true.
You should probably participate. I was also thinking, coming in, I have sayings. Some of them I write down. So these are 3 sayings that are unique to Dr. Ayers.
Okay.
The first one's sort of obtuse, but as people ask me about the weather, I say, well, every day it's warm, it's not cold. That what I'm saying is between November and March, there's only so many days it can be cold.
Sure.
So every day it's warm, it's not cold.
It's not cold.
Because you can't beat that. The second one was, do not plant English ivy, even in a pot. For one day you shall surely die, and surely it will not. English ivy. There's a lot of trouble with English ivy.
Ivy runs all the
It just grows and grows. And my most famous quote is, some people call me a hoarder, some people call me materialistic, but mostly people call me when they want to borrow something.
There you go. Dun-dun-dun.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got something.
That's right.
You got all of it.
So, new in the world of medicine.
Okay. New year, new medicine.
Of course, the biggest news was yesterday when the FDA, the NIH, the CDC, and the CMS, which is like Medicare, all put out a single vaccination schedule. And they reduced the shots to 11 antigens from 72. So
what does that mean exactly?
Well, I think they said 17 to 11, if you talk about the different antigens.
Okay.
Well, they changed the shot schedule, the recommended shot schedule. So now they're recommending you get a DPT. These are for kids. You get a Hib shot, Haemophilus influenza B. You get a pneumococcal shot, a polio, MMR. They're recommending 1 human papillomavirus, that'd be a Gardasil, and the chickenpox shot. That's it.
Okay.
So they've thrown out RSV, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, meningococcal, rotavirus, COVID-19, influenza.
Good.
The pediatricians are apoplectic.
They're not happy.
Oh, my goodness.
Hang on, we got a call. Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers today?
Yeah, good morning. I was just wondering what his take on collagen supplements are for joint pain, and if he thinks they're good, does he have one in particular he would recommend?
All right, dear. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Doc?
So I don't have a lot of experience with it, but my gut feeling is that I don't see how it would help. Now, we can take like hyaluronic acid and inject it in a joint, and that seems to help for a bit. But this, I think the implication is if collagen or cartilage and stuff is you're lacking, if you add it to your diet, it'll improve the joints. I've not seen that happen with anybody. So I have limited experience with it. I can't in my head see how it would help. Because the trouble with most stuff is if you eat it, it's all broken down into its parts. And your body's going to reassemble it into collagen or cartilage or whatever. I will say this, though. If you're getting a joint that's bad, if I go to the basketball court and shoot, I noticed a lady limping, and I talked to her, and it looked like maybe her hip probably needs replaced. But just be careful of doctors using the term bone on bone, because that is really a marketing ploy. When doctors say bone on bone, then people want to get their joint replaced. And not everybody needs their joint replaced, even if it's hurting. I will say most of the people that I've taken care of who've had their hips replaced, wish they'd got it done sooner, because there's a sort of immediate relief of pain if everything goes well. And that's one of our better surgeries. Knees can be a bit iffy.
Yeah.
They're better now. But back when they first started, a lot of people would have other problems with their knees. So a joint surgery where they're replacing the joint is not something you should rush into, but you need to ponder it. There's no surgeries can go good or bad. It's not necessarily the surgeon's fault. It's just the way it is. But I don't know anything you can eat. It seems to be the best thing if you have painful joints is exercise, because the stronger you can make the muscles on either side of that joint, the longer that joint's going to last. What happens is people get like a sore knee, and then they don't really use their knee much, or they walk funny.
Yes.
And then the muscles start to atrophy or waste away on either side of the joint, and then there's more pressure on the joint than there was beforehand. So if you can do some exercises that keep your muscles around that joint strong, it'll protect the joint, and you'll get more mileage out of it before you have to consider having a replacement.
There you go.
Okay, so now I suspect the pediatricians will not be changing their schedule. The AAP has come out in revolt against all this stuff. However, remember this. There's some things you have to know about immunizations. They're not as studied as well as you think they are. They're not as studied as well as they imply they are. They've just been accepted, and there's not that enough studies really out there on these things about the effects. Definitely on the effects of the combined bunch of them. That's an important fact you need to know, because people say it's science, they should just follow science. Well, the science is not so clear on this stuff, because I remember this: a DPT shot will increase your child's chance of dying by about 5 times.
Really?
Yes. Now, not of diphtheria, not of whooping cough, not of tetanus, which is what the shot's for. But if you just track these people, it's higher risk of dying. Also, you need to know
what from?
Everything. Now, that seems odd, but it shows up every time they look at it. It probably messes with their immune system.
Okay.
And that's the whole thing. You're messing with the immune system, sort of that God made. You're trying to
alter.
Right. You're trying to tell God he didn't do a good job. And now, will some people die? Yeah. Right now, the government's admitting at least 10 children died from the COVID-19 shot. And I'm sure it was more than that, but at least there's 10 they're admitting to. So these aren't without problems. And then look at rich people. What do rich people do? Do they immunize their kids? No, they don't. They don't immunize their kids. I mean, their hope is that you immunize your kids so they don't have to with their kids. And most of the studies, at least I can think of, that have looked at kids who were not immunized versus kids who were immunized, they tend to be healthier and smarter both.
Really?
Yeah. So, and another thing you need to file away is the United States, for all the shots we give, there are 74 other countries that have lower sickness and death in children than we do. So we're pretty high up there for deaths in children. So I don't know. I think this is the fear from the American Academy of Pediatrics is they're going to drop this schedule back down, sort of consistent with what they do in Europe. I think they picked Denmark as their pattern. But what happens in 3, 4, 5 years when you find that the death rate in the children in the United States is improved a lot? Then what's the impact pediatrics going to say? I think that's what's got them terrified. So now you can get all the shots. They're all still out there. Your insurance will still cover them for right now, based on what was recommended in December of 2025. And just know that, here's something else you need to know. Measles, this is a study out of Japan. They studied people who had measles.
Yeah.
And they had 8 to 20% decrease in dying from coronary artery disease. So sometimes these illnesses do good things for your body and your immune system. You definitely have lifelong immunity if you've had measles. If you have measles and mumps both, there was a 21% drop in cardiovascular deaths.
I had both growing up.
Right. So it decreases your chance statistically of having so. And for all these outbreaks you hear of measles, the death rate for measles is almost infinitesimal. It's not like, everybody's in the hospital with this disease.
Yeah.
The trouble is that mothers and parents today have no experience at all with any of these diseases because they've never seen them. You have to be our age to know anybody that had these things. But also remember that by 1963, which is when the measles vaccine was introduced, the death rate from measles was 98% down from what had been like in 1900.
Okay.
So there's 63 years, probably due to better nutrition and better sanitation. Measles had dropped off the thing anyway. In fact, all these diseases were just about gone. But if you want them, they're available for your children. But we've been telling you here on this show for at least 5 years, where I said there needs to be a moratorium on these shots so they could actually do some studies on them, because there are hardly any studies on them at all, where you could make a decision about what's good and what's not good.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed all those shots. They all exploded in 1983 after we signed an immunity bill for the vaccine makers. Once they signed an immunity bill where they couldn't be sued, the number of vaccines just went straight up, and then so did a lot of other conditions. But that's news.
Okay.
So that's number 1 and 2. Number 3 on the list today, this is from a doctor, Danish. That's what he calls himself on X. In 2000, there was a campaign started by Dr. Steve Berman to discourage moms from sleeping with their babies. I think it's always been his fear, I guess because of the passage in the Bible where the baby was in the bed and it died, and then, you remember that whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And Solomon said, cut the baby in half, and yeah. Well, traditionally, all through history, mothers did sleep with their babies when they were little, especially if they were nursing them. It was convenient, and they were right there. But then this guy came out, and he started saying, put your baby in a crib. If they start crying, just let them cry it out.
Yeah.
And that seems like it was a bad move. And then they started blaming SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, on your baby being left on its belly or whatever. In fact, right now there's a court case where a baby died, and they're criminally charging the parents because the baby wasn't on his back. Now, that's insanity.
Yep.
That is insanity, people. Babies been sleeping all kinds of ways from the beginning of time. SIDS actually seems to me, this is me speaking, there may be some literature as well, to be mostly associated with vaccination, because almost all these are within 2 weeks of a vaccination, these SIDS deaths.
Really?
Yeah. So I had like 2 SIDS deaths in my 30 years of it. It's horrible. to have a perfectly healthy baby you put down and then it's dead. So I think it's much more associated with that. They started saying that was the baby couldn't get rid of extra heat. Its temperature went up. And since they lose a lot of their heat through their belly, if you have them belly down or if they were in a soft mattress and all that thing. So now they want them on rock hard surfaces. And actually, when they started doing that, I started seeing all these babies with flat heads in the back.
Because they're laying down.
The parents never terrified to put them on their belly. But this is, I'm not sure. I always wonder where they came up with the whole SIDS theory of being on their back because they didn't want to question whether it was vaccination causing them. That's number 3. Speaking of the Danes, we've had Dr. Danish. We've had the Danish schedule for vaccination, and now we got 1.2 million children in a Danish study. And what they looked at was they said there's no evidence to support an increased risk of autoimmune disease, atopic disease, that'd be like eczema, allergies, or neurodevelopmental disorders associated with early childhood exposure to aluminum-absorbed vaccines. So for the vaccines that had aluminum in them, they tracked them, and they didn't see any difference in it. My problems with this study is that, one, we know now they do less shots than we do because we've sort of copied them in the number of shots we're doing now. And just know it may not be what any one shot is. It may be the combination of all these shots that we're given. But they said they could not prove that some rare conditions could be caused by it. But aluminum is not good. Aluminum, it's associated with Alzheimer's disease. If you look at the things that are in the brains of people with Alzheimer's, they have aluminum, which makes you should question your deodorant. Remember, if it makes you smell better, it's the deodorant. If it decreases perspiration, by law, it has to have aluminum chlorhydrate in it. You cannot call yourself an antiperspirant without aluminum chlorhydrate in it. And what's that? You rub it in if your armpits. It's a very vascular area. Skin's very thin there. So we probably need to question that whole process. I'm not sure it's good to rub aluminum in your armpits every day. But remember, they add aluminum to these vaccines to make them work better, because an antigen is what you're trying to protect people from, okay?
Yeah.
So, like if you're allergic to dogs or something, what they inject you with is an antigen itself and help you build up a tolerance to it over time. But that doesn't seem to get people to develop antibodies to these things. It's what they want people to develop. So if they absorbed them to aluminum or something, they got a much better result. So that's why that's in there. It seems to kick up the immune response. But like I say, the whole process of immunology is a little bit voodoo-ish. A new thing, you may want to try this. You can look it up online. It's called the clove bud extract. And you basically get sort of organic clove buds and you boil them. You have to put a lid on it because it's a volatile thing you're collecting. Volatile means it goes up in the air easily. And it seems to help a lot of things. Enough that you might want to consider it. Let me see if I can. It's a long list. It's like a panacea. Panacea means a cure-all. Oh, that's interesting.
What's that?
Since last night, they took that website down.
Really?
Yeah, that's interesting. See if it'll come back up.
Okay.
Nope. Well, anyway, it helps a lot of things. And you can use it for anything from bad breath to helping the cancer intervention. Which, let me go to that next. We've talked about fenbendazole, mebendazole, ivermectin being useful in cancer, and that's really driving the medical world mad. Well, now they're doing these studies where they combine chemotherapy with these drugs, one of them or two of them or three of them. And so far, the outcomes have been really good. The question is, would it have been just as good if they left off the chemo part of it? I don't know. But Florida's doing studies to find that out. So Florida, beyond the NIH and all those other places, Florida is doing a group of studies where they look at fenbendazole, mebendazole, and ivermectin in treating cancer. And because the results are pretty fast, they're going to be able to put out the results yearly. So you don't have to wait like 5 years to get some big study done. I'm sure they'll have continuing information over 5 years, but did it work or not, they're going to be able to tell you really quickly. And they're funding the study themselves. Florida's funding these studies. And it will be interesting to see how well these work, and do they work on what sorts of cancers, and are there any cancers they don't seem to work on. But for some diseases that were fatal, like stage 4 pancreatic cancer, using some chemo and then some of these medicines, they've had, it's going to take longer to find out are they permanent cures, but you can throw around the word cure. Like for Michael Landon, a lot of people died of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
It's not one that's responded very well to treatment. And typically these deep cancers like ovarian cancer and pancreatic cancer, one of the reasons they haven't done well traditionally, I'm sure there's several, but one of the reasons is they're deep organs. So by the time you get symptoms, it's probably spread already. Whereas you had a cancer on your back of your hand, you could look at it and say, oh, something's not right with that thing. And you could do something about it quicker. But some of these deeper cancers get sort of carried away before people find out. The symptoms they get are the symptoms of spread. And so the horse is already out of the barn. Now, if you do have a cancer on your hand or arm, you can go to the Tractor Supply and get some ivermectin paste, like you would use on your horse, to deworm it. And that's 1.87%. And it will, you can put it on there twice a day, might do it for like 2 or 3 months, but it will pretty much cure basal cell, squamous cell, and malignant melanoma. Mm-hmm. Now, but iffy about the melanoma thing, because it's the one that can spread, but I almost wonder if you should get it cut out first and then do that. But it seems to work. And if nothing else, if you had a very large aggressive one, like a big basal cell somewhere, it would probably make it a lot smaller, make the surgery to take it off
much easier
to do. Yeah. So, but what's recommended for it is, and I think it's actually an FDA approved use of the drug ivermectin. They have a 1% cream you can get prescribed, but 1.87% paste is
much
even
better,
stronger. Yeah. It's gummy. It's sort of like zinc oxide. If you put that on your nose at the beach, it's sort of sticky and sticks, but it would be something to try if you want to avoid getting cut on for skin cancers, or if you got a lot of skin cancers and you're starting to look like Frankenstein from all the scars you got on yourself. Maybe a way to avoid future scars. But it's interesting that Florida's doing that. I think it's that, I can't say his name right, Lapido or something, whatever his name is down there, who's the medical head down in Florida.
Okay.
He's a pretty forward-thinking fellow.
Sounds like.
So the AAP again. AAP, when I say that, it's not the power company. It's American Academy of Pediatrics. They've been bucking this whole thing for immunizations for some time now. And, pretty aggressively saying the CDC's wrong, NIH is wrong, we know best. But remember, their track record on treating kids isn't very good.
Yeah.
So, RFK Jr., he cut all their federal funding off. Every grant they had, he just took it away from them. I'm assuming the big pharma, it's my opinion, will probably make that difference up.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
I think we got a call here on line 1. Good morning. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers this morning?
Yes, I do.
All right. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I've got a doctor, a primary doctor up here in Clinton at Turkey Hill. And I called, you have to call the office in Knoxville, and they relay messages to her. And I've done a phone call with her, I guess a phone visit.
Yeah.
And them things are expensive. They're about $90.
Okay.
But anyway, I was telling her what was going on with me. I went on the phone 5 minutes. I told her that I had a tooth abscess and I had some kind of crud. I didn't know what it was. And I needed some amoxicillin, some antibiotics. He said, well, you got to come in here and see me.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I can do that. No problem. I went in there, and she just acted like she had no concern of anything that I tell her. She don't listen to anything I say. And she just sits over there like she's just unconcerned of anything. I've never seen a doctor like that. They're supposed to listen to you. They don't live with you.
Yeah, true.
I mean, you have to tell them what's going on with you. They don't know.
True.
But anyways, she prescribed me this antibiotic.
Okay.
It's called AMOX, CLAV.
Mm-hmm.
And the MOX is 875 milligrams. And then I don't know what that CLAV is. It's 125 milligrams. I'm going to tell you what. I took one of them pills, and it made me the sickest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
Man, I was hurling. I mean, oh, Lord, it was awful.
Yeah.
And it had my sinuses stopped up. I couldn't breathe. And plus, I was hurling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, good God, what in the world? And I took a half of one the next time. And it done me the same way. So I quit taking them, and I ain't had that problem.
Okay.
I just don't understand why, that. I mean, what is that CLV? Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Okay. You want to hang up and listen?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. All right, Doc.
So the brand name of that would be Augmentin. So basically they added clavulanate or clavulanic acid to amoxicillin, and that sort of took away some of the resistance that had been building up to amoxicillin. Amoxicillin, which is a derivative of penicillin, like penicillin, had become ineffective against a lot of bacteria. By adding that clavulanic to it, it let it be not resistant. So it is makes a stronger medicine. Now, some people have GI symptoms with it. Obviously, he's one of them. Yeah, I might try to take it make sure you eat a whole meal or something before you take it. You can divide it up and take smaller doses. When it originally came out, it was like 500, and then they bumped it to 875 where you could take it just twice a day. But so maybe break them in half. If you wrote it for twice a day, then take it 4 times a day. But take it with it. Make sure you got food on your stomach, and see if that works better. I've not had a lot of people get throwing up with it or vomiting. Diarrhea is pretty common with it.
Yeah.
But it is a powerful antibiotic, and it should help for the symptoms that you're complaining of. if you can take it. If you can't, then just let her know. Then she should call in something else for you. Your reaction is not an allergic reaction, so it's not like you can't take it because, other than getting sick at your stomach. That's not an allergy. That's sort of just a side effect of the drug itself. So I believe it's probably the right drug for what you were complaining of, but, you and it may just not get along, and she'll have to find something else to treat you with. So I think her choice was good. Now, I'm sure there are patients she has which think she's the most listening doctor out there. Finding a doctor is really a personal thing, and some people can get along well, and some people don't get along well. It's just a person-to-person thing. I had patients that I loved and the patients that I dreaded to see, and that's just the way people are. If I find myself hating seeing somebody so badly that I felt it was altering my judgment, I'd ask them to find another doctor. Because particularly if you're a type of patient that pressures your doctor to give you a certain thing, that's not good, because you're asking them to set aside their judgment for your judgment, and that usually doesn't go well for the patient or doctor, either one. Interesting story, though. All drugs have side effects. All drugs have side effects. And sometimes they're bad, like that one. But the other people could take Augment and do just fine. Not get sick at their stomach, but some people can. But might take it with food and see if that helps it out. If it doesn't, then just call her up. I don't think she should drag you back in there to get different antibiotics. You should be able to do that over the phone. But that's what I would have done. Number 8 on the list. This is just weird, okay? This is just weird.
Okay.
So, drug-induced chest-feeding liquid is comparable to that from mothers when it comes to nourishment, claims hospital. To me, this just falls in the realm of insanity. So you have all these trans women. So a trans woman is somebody who was born biologically a male, has decided to transition to be a woman. They adopt a baby, because obviously he can't have a baby. And he wants to breastfeed this baby. And, well, they can give you estrogen and probably put some breasts on you to some degree. And they could probably give you prolactin. These are hormones that would naturally occur in a woman who is pregnant, and make some kind of fluid come out of those new breasts. So then the question was, is it equivalent to milk, a mother's milk? Well, the hospitals are saying that, well, I guess the babies seem to grow on it, but I don't think it has antibodies and all the other stuff that the mother's milk has into it. So it just seems, it's just bizarre. You can't make women out of men. It just ain't going to happen. And the whole thing is just idiotic. So I would say this is not sufficient to say that that's actually acceptable. But now, there have been fathers through the years I've read where they wanted to breastfeed their child along with their wife.
No.
That's just weird.
That's stupid.
I mean, we're getting into...
You get into weird stuff.
Yes, you're getting into trying to mess with bodies to make it do things it was never meant to do. But I would say nix this idea. It's just a bad idea. You're not worried about the baby. You're worried about yourself. If you're worried about the baby, you'd let its mother actually feed it. 1983, we had 7 shots and 3 orals. So you got a DPT at 2, 4, 6, 18 months, and then in 4 to 5 years. Then a 14-year-old, you got a tetanus shot, and you got MMR back at 15 months, and you got 3 oral polios. And that's all we got. That's all you got. That's just 40 years ago. So now you get 78 to 92, if you include the flu and the COVID shots. So that's a problem. I don't know why the pediatricians can't see that that's a problem. You can't just keep messing with people's immune system. It seems to work less well. We know, like last year and a lot of the years, taking the flu shot actually increase your chance of getting the flu. That's the whole reason you're taking it, so you don't get the flu. But it just messes with your immune system, and it doesn't work as well. So in the first year, 1983, your child would have got 3 shots, 3 DPTs, and 2 oral polios. That had been their whole first year. In 2025, you get 25 injections and 3 oral. That's just over 40 years we've added all that stuff. And really, it all came out of that immunity to liability. When the pharmaceutical companies found out they couldn't be sued for bad outcomes with vaccines, they had a lot of ideas about vaccines. They were a little bit more cautious before that. So that's a big change. So I think reeling it back, we didn't go all the way back to 1983, but we reel it back in quite a bit. Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, they agreed to a $15 million settlement for fraud on allegations related to scientific research grants. They were saying they had all these research grants from NIH, and they didn't, and that they were part of that whole network, and they weren't. So the government fined them $15 million.
Yikes.
I have that in there just to say there's a lot of lying going on. And speak of lying, glyphosate, which is Roundup, we've had a lot of questions about it on this radio show about glyphosate. I don't recommend it. It's been associated with lymphoma and maybe some other cancers. It's in our water. You can ask your water provider for your city water how much glyphosate's in there. They should be checking. It's not required by law to report it, but then you should know, and you'll find it's in your water. And remember, it's a immune modulator. It's a hormone modulator, okay? A hormone interrupter, essentially. And it tends to cause, feminizing-like side effects. Compared to your granddad, my granddad, men today make half the sperm that they made. So if you did how many little cells per milliliter, it's half. And we're not reproducing enough as it is already. Yeah, just make it harder and harder. And it seems like it comes from exposures we're having in the world through our water and through our air and through our food. So that's becoming a problem. But what happened is the study that they did to show that glyphosate was safe to put in your yard, your Roundup, they looked back at that study. They almost decided it was written by like graduate students, and it wasn't really, there was no study. So they retracted the study. So the study that proved that glyphosate was safe to be used has been retracted. It doesn't have any study now to say that it's safe to use. So I recommend you don't use it. And
it's safe. If you don't use it.
Yeah, it's in everything, and they use it for everything. And the trouble is our whole farm systems become dependent upon it. Because if you buy your seeds from Monsanto, they have messed with the seeds genetically to make it so that Roundup doesn't kill that particular plant. So you can plant your soybeans, you can plant your corn, and rather than weeding it like with a hoe or some kind of mechanical equipment,
you spray it.
You just spray with glyphosate, and it kills all the other plants, but it won't kill your crop. That's a little eerie right in itself. And they use it to dry out grains. I'm not sure how it dries the grains out, but they use it to dry grains out. So almost all your cereals, even if you buy something expensive like Cashy, they all have glyphosate in them. Any kind of grain cereal you get, whether it's Cheerios or Quaker Oats, they all have glyphosate in them. And just know every time you're eating a bowl of glyphosate. You're eating Roundup. You can't get it out. And even if we quit using it today, it'd probably be 10, 20 years before it was out of the water supply. But we probably need to stop. So the study that they always quote that it was safe is gone now. Speaking of being safe, mammograms have been a question for some time. And And you're going to have to make your mind up about this personally if you're listening. So the trouble with mammograms is that it's radiation. And we know radiation causes cancer. So we're actually using something that causes cancer to see if you've got cancer.
Yeah.
And that's bad. And there was this type of cancer called ductal carcinoma in situ, ductal CIS or DCIS. And now they don't really consider that a cancer that needs to be addressed. But it's been about 1.3 million people diagnosed with that over the last 30 years. And they have been cut on, they have been radiated, they have been dosed with chemo, all for something that now we've decided, I think we can just let that go. Because it showed up on a mammogram. Now, if you got a history of breast cancer at, like, your mom got it in her 20s or early 30s, that you're going to have to look at that. But there are other ways to look at breast. You can look at them with ultrasound. You can do MRIs. And those aren't ionizing radiation. So one's sound waves and one's magnetic waves. So it shouldn't increase your risk of getting cancer. If you've already got an increased cancer because of your genetics, the last thing you want to do is start radiating your breast. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense. Now, these other tests obviously will be more expensive, but there are other ways to look at breast if you want to look at them and see. But Cochrane, which does a review on these studies. So if you see a Cochrane review, I think it's COCHRANE, they're sort of the final arbiter of what's good and bad. They look at all the studies on stuff, and then they make a statement. This is a good test. It needs to be done. And I think they said if you're going to get them, it shouldn't start till age 50. But it's a question whether it's helping or it's not helping. If you remember when the PSA came out, which was probably in the 80s, prostate-specific antigen that men get their prostates checked with. The first few years it was out, prostate cancer went up like a rocket.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's more prostate cancer? No, because they're finding prostate cancer.
It more, yeah.
They're finding actually subclinical prostate cancer. So people that had this cancer and lived their whole life and never knew they had it are now getting ultrasounds of their prostate, which is not comfortable, getting poked with needle biopsies.
That's not comfortable either.
Right. So has it saved lives? It probably has. Has it hurt people's lives? It surely has. And each person's got to put that in a scale and decide for themselves what they want to do about these things. But that's the trouble with tests. And remember, all tests have false positives. All tests have false negatives. You may get a test that says your breasts look really good in that mammogram, and you may have a cancer there. And some will say you got a cancer, and you don't have a cancer there. It's more likely to be the latter one, because one thing mammograms have done have driven up the number of biopsies, and, lumpectomies, and all these things that women got that probably didn't need to get done. But it probably has saved some lives. I'm sure it has. So you have to decide what your risk is and what you're willing to have done. Number 13 on my list of 18.
Okay.
Tylenol lowers fever, however, also blocks glutathione. And glutathione is involved in your body's ability to detox itself for the things that you've been exposed to. So all these chemicals we're talking about, you're getting exposed to in the water, in the air, in your food, your liver can sort of detox that. And one way it does it is with glutathione, which you can supplement glutathione in your diet with the pill. Speaking of these GNC and herbal places, you can take glutathione. I try to take 2 pills a day. But it does help in detoxing, and even detoxing if you took the COVID shot.
Okay.
And remember, if you listened to the radio show here, and you probably wouldn't have got a COVID shot if you were believing me anyway. So, and if you took it, I'm sorry, because I'm not sure how many years for the ill effects of that's going to be found out. So Tylenol sort of fallen out of favor now. I guess you could take ibuprofen if you have fever or pain, but you don't want to take any of these things long term if you can avoid it, because non-steroidals like ibuprofen or naproxen and a whole host of other ones, can cause vasoconstriction, or blood vessels to constrict in your kidneys, and can cause kidney issues over time. Interesting here. Marco Rubio says, we are not going to spend billions of dollars funding the NGO industrial complex. I say hallelujah to that. An NGO is a non-governmental organization.
Yes.
Or you might call it a charity.
Yes.
And some of these charities get all their money from the government.
Yeah.
They don't have to do any fundraising. They get it all from the government. And originally it was thought, well, these people are better set to deal with certain things than the government is. So the government will just give them money and let them take care of it. Let them deliver blankets to people in Pakistan or whatever. Well, if you track these people down, a lot of them are just sort of keeping the money and not
doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
And so we have billions and billions of dollars going to these NGOs, and it's a big problem. I saw Elon Musk said the other day, $1.5 trillion a year of American tax money is just
wasted,
gone.
Yeah.
So people get rich. Like the Black Lives Matter ladies who developed that organization.
Mm-hmm.
They had like 2 or 3 monstrous houses. Mm-hmm. And then for all the money they gave in the earthquake at Haiti that went to Bush and Clinton, remember they were hanging out together for a while. Mm-hmm. They built like 6 houses. They got billions of dollars. You said, where did the rest of that money go? So I think our government shouldn't be picking on charities and saying this is a good charity and we'll give them a lot of money and this one's not. If a charity's going to be a charity, they should have to raise their own money, have to make their plea to the people. And since they're not taxed, you can look at how their money was spent. And you'll find people sit on the boards of these. There are people sit on the boards of like 5 or 6 of these NGOs. They'll make, quite a bit of money just sitting on the boards of these. It's a money-making operation. I think NGOs, or basically charities, probably need to be fighting for their own cash, making their plea to the people and not to the government. So, if you see the word NGO, it stands for non-governmental organization, or basically a charity. FDA intends to put a black box warning on the COVID-19 vaccines. The black box warning means that some really bad things can happen with this drug. You may choose to take it anyway, but the black box warnings are, these things, these side effects can be life-threatening. So the COVID shot now has a black box warning on it. Stanford, however, did a study to show why mRNA-based COVID-19 vaccines caused myocarditis. And they found that there was a pair of substances secreted by the immune cells that induce the myocarditis. And they're hoping they can find a way to modulate these chemicals coming from the immune cells so that they won't cause myocarditis in people that get these shots. But remember, myocarditis was not the only bad side effect of COVID shots, but definitely in children. Remember, at least 10 children in the United States died directly from the COVID shots, which is horribly sad because kids, A, didn't get sick with it, and B, I don't know any child actually died from it, from COVID-19. So why are you immunizing them? The plea was you're saving grandma. And then they found out that was a lie because it didn't stop transmission anyway. And if you look at studies, it didn't stop you from catching it. Their argument was that it made you, if you got it, you'd be less sick. And I think that's pretty up in the air, too. In the United Kingdom, this is a big problem in the United Kingdom. And I don't know how it's going to be fought out. But in the United Kingdom, the scientists who advised the government about COVID. So the group of scientists in the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, about how to deal with the COVID, they failed to reveal to the government that they had conflicting interests, that they had been paid £200 million, which is like $300 million in grants from the world's largest pharmaceutical investors, like Wellcome Trust. So they were getting paid to see things from a pharmaceutical's point of view and not what was best for the people. Mm-hmm. Now, they probably said we made all of our decisions based totally on the people, but they obviously didn't. Because if you read anything in the papers now, there's this thing called Operation Talla, T-A-L-L-A, in the United Kingdom. And what they did, they told the police, do not take any data about somebody complaining that the shot hurt them or killed their loved one or anything like that. So you could turn in and say, my mom took this shot and she was dead in 5 hours. And they didn't make a record of it. They didn't write it down. There was a whole nationwide thing that we are not even going to look that way. And they called it Operation Talla. Well, now Talla, excuse me, Talla's made it out into the public. Now the public knows that was the thing. And let's say they're not happy about that. So, last thing I got on here is Promethean action. You can look that up. Hang on. Okay. So Promethean action is a group that studies this whole drug trade. So you notice we went into Venezuela the other day and took out Maduro and his wife. Mm-hmm. Some of that ostensibly was about decreasing the amount of drugs coming into the country, but some of it is about banking. Evidently, the banks of the world have divided the Caribbean into like 14 different districts, and there's a lot of money laundering in there, a lot of narcotic money supporting that. In fact, evidently in 2008, when the whole financial system in the United States was up on its end from the housing issue, the narco banks put in $342 million, I think, or $1 billion, $342 billion to support the banks and keep them from crashing because it suited them. But if you read about it, it seems like our whole banking system is based on that kind of money. So that's basically what the administration is trying to do, I think, is affect that banking system rather than they were worried about having charges against Maduro. He's pled that he is a prisoner of war and wants to be treated under the Geneva Convention. I don't think that's going to work. He's obtained a lawyer, however, that represented Julian Assange. So we'll see how this goes out. He's in New York, so who knows how they're going to rule.
Yeah, really.
But then this whole thing about Canada and Greenland, we have a lot of trouble. The banking system, Canada's a problem too, and we get a lot of drugs from Canada.
We got a call if you
across the northern border.
Hang on just a second. Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers, please?
Yeah, good morning, Ron, and good morning to you, Dr. Ayers. Not changing subject or nothing, but luckily, knock on wood, I have not had the flu yet, but good. I haven't taken my shot. I want to try to go get it Thursday, and I guess my question is, once you have this flu vaccination, how long does it take for it to get into your system before it starts fighting the flu? And also the other question is, I'm hearing there's a type A and a type B, and my daughter's kids, they've had like the type B. I'm not heard much about the type A, but what is the difference in the A and the B? And I'm hearing a lot about, they're saying that the shots not being too effective on the type A or type B.
I had type B. Jasper currently was just diagnosed with type A, so I don't know. What are the differences, Doc?
And I'll hang up, Ron, and listen to you.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, Dr. Ayers. Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
So the type A's have a hemagglutinin and neuraminidase markers on the surface. So that's where you get like.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Well, I mean, if you hear H1N1, okay, that's what it stands for, the hemagglutinin and neuraminidase.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So if you hear about it's H1N1, H9N6 or something like that, all these combinations are type A's. You're always talking about type A. If you got H's and N's, it's type A. The B's doesn't have markers like that. I think A's tend to be more severe than B's, just traditionally looking back over time in my career. It's a guess. They start about February in the year, choosing what they're going to put in the vaccine for next year. And sometimes they guess right, and sometimes they guess wrong, because there's lots of strains of flu. But remember, the flu's always out there somewhere, because if it's warm up here, and flu's a winter thing almost always. If it's summer up here, it's winter down in the southern hemisphere. So they look down there and they see what people are getting sick with, and they say, well, it's probably make its way up here. And they choose like 3, occasionally 4, but usually 3, 2 type A's and 1 type B to put into the shot. How accurate are they? It's a crapshoot, okay? But should it help? In theory, it might help. But we've had problems in the last few years. And so one of the troubles with the shot is, I would say if you want to know a time, I would say it's probably going to be in at least 2 weeks if it's going to prevent anything. And what it does, it makes antibodies. Your body decides what they shot in your arm is foreign. It doesn't like it. It's going to make a reaction to it. And it's going to make antibodies to that strain. However, these antibodies are in your blood, and you catch this thing through your nose and your upper airway. There ain't no antibodies up there. So is it going to stop you from getting it? I don't know. Will it stop you from getting sick with it, real sick? I don't know, maybe. The shots typically on a good year have about 40% effectiveness. That seems the number I've seen most, maybe up to 45. So that means 65% of the people that got it, or 60% of the people that got it, really probably didn't get any benefit from it at all. It's not a very effective shot. That's pretty low. Just to be 40% effective. Last year, you were more likely to catch the flu if you took the shot. You're 27 times more likely to catch the flu than if you hadn't got the shot at all. So I don't really recommend the shot anymore. And these new recommendations that came out for children, they've taken the flu off the recommendations for children. For a couple reasons. Kids tend not to get very sick with it, and their immune system's good, and they recover quickly. So that's sort of the scoop on it. I'm not taking it. I haven't taken it for some time. And then one of the trouble they found in older people like me is that they seem to work less well the more you get. And if you're saying who actually would need a flu shot, it's old people that die with a flu. Mm-hmm. So it's 65 and above, and probably more 70 and above, that die with the flu. So, one, your immune system doesn't respond well when you're older. So a shot really doesn't work as well because your immune system's old. And we found out if we give them every year, they seem to work less well. And yet we tell people to get them every year. There's some new thinking that says, hey, maybe we need to make a flu shot that just take every 5 years or something. That might be better for the older people. They seem to get a better response out of it. And then the other question would be, they tend to make these vaccines against surface antigens on the surface of the virus. And so that's why it changes every year, that you have to get a different kind of flu shot. If they made the vaccine to something in the middle of the thing that didn't change every year, you have maybe one flu shot that lasted a long time. So I'd say it's a poor shot. It's a mostly ineffective shot. It might make you more likely to catch the flu sometimes. But I mean, like I say, they've taken it off the childhood schedule. The CDC has. We shall see. But if it's going to work, it's probably take about 2 weeks, I think, after you got the shot.
Okay. There you go.
Trying to think of anything else going on in the world. Sometimes I look up health online and I look for news, but the news mostly is about this new guy's now head of a certain insurance company, and that's what the news and medicine is. The stuff I give you, it sort of trickles out over the course of the month in the news, or mostly in the news. I think there's been breakthroughs in 2025. It was the fact that these antiparasitic drugs really work in cancer pretty well. A lot of people still took the chemotherapy and then took the febendazole or mebendazole. Febendazole not even approved for use in humans, but it's fine. Remember, any drug can have its bad side effects, so you have to do this at your own risk. But ivermectin's obviously safe for people. It was a people drug before it ever was an animal drug. It was used for river blindness. It's considered one of the greatest medical discoveries in the last century. But that's probably the biggest discovery, I would think, medically, as far as day-to-day going.
Yeah.
Let's change people's lives. A lot of people have been cured of cancer taking these drugs. I know like 3. But all these have protocols. And one thing we found out about cancer, I think last year, and probably should have known already, it seems like a multi-pronged approach. So you can't just take mebendazole or febendazole. You should probably take it as part of a protocol of other things. Vitamin C seems to be real important. Vitamin D seems to be real important. And since our food is so poor right now in the United States, you can't really get all these nutrients from your food unless you really, really work at it, or work with an organic gardener or somebody. So you should probably visit your local farmer's market and get fresh stuff. It supports the local economy, and it's better for you. If you get somebody that doesn't put pesticides on their plants, or doesn't vaccinate their cows, and you can get meat like that at the farmer's market. So unless you have another call or something, we'll have to...
We've got them.
You got them.
Look at every line we got. WYSH, you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers today?
Yes, I do.
Go right ahead.
I was wondering, what can be the cause of craving eyes? Someone said my iron could be low, and I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
That's a phenomenon called pica, P-I-C-A, where people want to eat minerals, eat chalk. School teachers always eat chalk because it was available, I guess, or eat rocks or sort of weird things. That's body saying you need iron, yeah, most of the time. Why would you need iron? Well, you sound like you're a relatively young woman. Of course, women have periods, and when you have a menstrual period, you lose iron. You lose blood, you lose iron. So now if an older person came in and had that issue, I would be concerned they're losing blood somewhere, and the most likely place would be their bowel. So I'd be concerned, do they have an ulcer that's sort of oozing? Do they have a polyp, potentially a cancerous polyp in their colon that's bleeding on a regular basis? I've had people come in who were anemic, and the type of anemia you see with low iron, and it was from bleeding slowly over a long period of time out their intestines because they had a cancer.
Yeah.
You can't just take iron and fix it. You need to find out why you got low iron as well.
Okay. Good morning, WYSH. Hang on. Good morning, WYSH. You have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers?
Yes, I was wanting to ask him a question.
Go ahead.
Of course, everybody's got one of these buddies. He's seen something on the internet that type 2 diabetes is a parasite in your pancreas. And he says you can drink warm water with cinnamon at night and it'll get rid of that. Is that true? I'll hang up.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Doc.
Well, here's one of the things. Because this fenbendazole, mebendazole, and ivermectin and these other things seem to work to treat cancers, somebody made the extrapolation that cancer therefore must be caused by parasites because these are antiparasitic drugs primarily. Well, that's not really what happens. Remember, it's not unusual for a drug to work in multiple ways. Do I think that a parasite in your pancreas is causing type 2 diabetes? No. Most of type 2 diabetes usually is associated with extra weight. Fat cells are very resistant to insulin. So your body has to make more insulin when you eat food than it would if you were thinner. And so over time, your pancreas just sort of gives out. It just can't make it anymore. But most type 2 diabetes is not insulin lack, it's insulin resistance. So that's why when people lose a lot of weight by taking Ozempic or Mounjaro or one of these things, a lot of them can stop all their diabetic medicines.
Yeah.
So they don't have diabetes anymore? So who cares? They don't have to take your medicine for it. So, no, I don't think it's a parasite. And, yes, there's all these kinds of things on the internet about drinking warm water to lose weight, taking salt to lose weight, or pour something on your head to get rid of a ring in your ears. They're just targeting people in their hour of weakness, that there's a simple, fast cure. It's like I say, if there's been a simple, fast cure come out in the last year, it's been for a lot of these cancers with these drugs. But now, on the other hand, I will say this. I'd almost say you probably need to be warmed once a year, because I do think we do get exposure to parasites, especially if you have animals in your house or you live on a farm, or to think that somehow we don't get parasites anymore I don't think it defies logic.
All right. We've got other calls here if you want to.
Type diabetes. Okay.
Okay.
Let it rip.
Good morning, WYSH. You're on. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers?
Yes, please.
All right. Go ahead. You're on.
Okay. I just wanted to ask him what he thought about this. I have a nurse practitioner friend because she's seeing flu constantly every day. She has been, for the last several months, taking a swab and going around the inside of her nose with hydrogen peroxide, waiting a minute or so, and then doing it with iodine. She's been healthy so far. Would that really help block anything that you might breathe in? Just a question, and she actually found a nose spray that had that in it that she's now using. So I was just curious what he thought about that.
All right.
Thank you, and I'll hang up.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Hydrogen peroxide can kill bacteria on contact. It's very effective at that. And I guess povidone iodine or betadine probably can as well. A lot of these respiratory viruses start out in your nose. Now, I don't know how well hydrogen peroxide or iodine is at killing viruses, because they're good at killing bacteria. I'm not sure how well they are killing. I would think a nose spray would be more effective than the swab, because you need to get up into the sinuses and everywhere like that. A study of one is not much of a study. We call that anecdotal information. What worked for just one guy one time. So I would say there's maybe some benefit to doing sinus washes with like neti pots and stuff like that, particularly if you're starting to get sick. But I don't know anything to back that up about a virus. I think if you're getting recurrent sinusitis, that might be a thing, because it's mostly bacteria that cause those things. But I don't know any way that hydrogen peroxide would kill a virus. But hey, you might have to try it and see.
All right. Good morning, WYSH. Do you have a comment or question for Dr. Ayers this morning?
Yes, I do.
All right, go right ahead.
I was wanting his opinion about statin drugs.
Statin drugs? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You ready?
You want to hang up and listen? Okay.
So, I feel like I'm in crazy town because of the things I say. Not because of what you're saying, it was what I'm saying. But I think if you've had a heart attack or a stent, it seems like there is some benefit. Okay? Because remember, a heart attack happens not because you got plaque in the arteries. It's because you have unstable plaque. It got a crack in it. When it got a crack in it and ruptured, then it released into your blood everything that makes your blood clot, like when you cut your finger. So you went from like a 40% block of your coronary artery to 100% block of your coronary artery over just a few minutes because the plaque ruptured, and then you had some hard plaque, but that soft clot on top of it. So you go to the hospital and they give you a clot buster. It doesn't bust the plaque. It just busts the clot that finished plugging up the hole. Maybe if you had a stent put in, I think there's some studies that show that the benefit. Does lowering your cholesterol help? I think maybe lowering your cholesterol might help some if you do it with a dietary thing. My wife reminded me it wasn't that long ago where 350 was considered an acceptable cholesterol. Now they want you down to like dirt. But the trouble is cholesterol is an important chemical in your body. You need cholesterol. Your brain's got a ton of cholesterol in it. And there has been a rise in Alzheimer's disease with the use of statins. And, of course, there's potential for muscle pain. They seem to be generally safe medications, but we really don't know all the long-term effects of lowering cholesterol, especially lowering as low as they like you to get it these days. All that we know about, all this started with cholesterol and a thing called the Framingham Heart Study. It was done in Framingham, Massachusetts. They looked at the whole town. They checked their cholesterols, and they followed these people and found out that people with higher cholesterols had more heart disease than people who had lower cholesterols. Then you have to prove that lowering somebody's cholesterol lowered their risk. And so they thought they did studies that showed that, but I'm not so sure about all that. I think other than a stent or having had a recent heart attack, I'm not a big fan of it. I took Crestor for a while, and I stopped it. I just cholesterol is the backbone of testosterone. Cholesterol is the backbone of estrogen. Cholesterol is the backbone of progesterone. Cholesterol is the backbone of vitamin D. And you can't tell me that you can lower the cholesterol to dirt and all those levels are going to stay good. They're just not going to. They're going to drop too. And like I say, your brain is made of cholesterol. I'm not sure the whole cholesterol story. Okay. So that's my feelings about it.
Okay. Good morning. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers this morning, please?
Yes.
Go right ahead. You're live.
Okay. Dr. Ayers.
You're live on the air. Go ahead.
I'm going. I was in the hospital with the A flu, and I had oxygen, and I've got fever blisters on my mouth and in my nose. I just wonder what you could recommend me to use. I've used just about everything that I know of. I'll hang up and then you can tell me.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, so when you use the word fever blister, to me that's saying a type of virus. Yeah. So you need to take Valtrex or call the doctor and they can put you on a medicine to take that down. But I suspect they're probably not that. But if you're pretty sure they are fever blisters, you get them. If you used to get them recurrently every time you got sick, and you got them again, then I'd say, yeah, you need something like acyclovir or Valtrex or one of those to make them go away. If it's something you just had this time because you're in your hospital, it's probably just cracking from either drying out, hospital's very dry, or the oxygen going up your nose just created ulcers. If that's the case, then I would probably put Vaseline on a Q-tip up your nose. Now, if you could get Bactroban, which is also an ointment, you could put that up your nose. That might be even better. But that would take a prescription. But if you're going to treat yourself at home, then probably I would put Vaseline on a Q-tip and line the inside of my nostrils with that just to protect it, and maybe some heavy chapstick on your lips so they don't dry out. So it depends on whether it's actually real fever blisters or it's just from being all dried out from the oxygen and everything in the hospital.
There you go.
I should just say we're going to quit about 10 minutes into the show.
Everybody starts calling when you start saying you're going to quit. Yeah. There you go.
I'm glad people call. It makes it a better show.
It does, yes. Anything else this morning?
That's all I've got.
Okay. We'll call it a day and head toward February. Remember, guys, if you have questions, you can call anytime that we're here on the air. Doc comes the first Tuesday of every month, and you're welcome to call in with whatever medical questions that you have to ask, and we'll stop what we're doing and get to the phone. Jay will answer the phone. He lets us know when somebody's on hold, so you don't have to wait long. We'll get you right on. Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year.
All right. We'll call it a day and be back here next month for Ask the Doctor on WYSH. Ask Your Neighbor. Have a great day, everyone. Don't be fooled by insurance companies telling you where you have to get your prescriptions filled. Anderson Crossing Pharmacy in Andersonville can fill your prescriptions, and they'll do it in about 10 minutes. And make sure you ask Anderson Crossing Pharmacy about their loyalty card. You can save 10% on over-the-counter items. Anderson Crossing Pharmacy is at 3318 Andersonville Highway. Call them at 865-494-8444, 494-8444. Family-owned and serving our area since 1995. Anderson Crossing Pharmacy. Caring for you and about you.
Thank you for listening to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Make sure you tune in at 10 a.m. each day, Monday through Friday, right here on AM 1380 WYSH and BBB TV 12. Or listen live online at WYSHradio.com. And remember, if you have a question, comment, or problem, call